Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week on Fridays.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Welcome to Talking Junk, the podcast that comes to you live every Friday night from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I am your host, back again with another great guest. Well, this time, I liked it the last few times we did it, so duo. We're just going to get straight into it and let them tell their story for themselves. So please welcome Miss Gay Patricia Matheson and Mr. Dean Del. I apologize. You see, that's what I told you. I didn't want to butcher it.
Del Giudice.
Del Giudice.
There you
How
go.
are you guys doing tonight?
Great, Jason.
Thanks
How
for
are you?
asking.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Now that we've gotten over me butchering your names, let's have a great time.
You got it.
Now,
For sure.
how I understand you guys have two books out, but you're also a pair of life coaches, and you do it together.
Life coaches and psychotherapists. And we do it together, but we do it separately also. We
Okay.
do couples together when they want both of us.
And
Okay.
are ready to pay twice as much.
Right. See, that was going to be my next question. Is it a double charge? And it should be, because you both are professionals and you have your own take on it. So you're getting double the advice. Now, how did you guys meet?
That's a great question, Jason. We met, it was very serendipitous because in midlife, both of us decided to go back to school. For me, I was in sales and marketing, and it just had lost its meaning.
I was a stockbroker and a resort business owner. I had a resort shop for a while, and we were unsatisfied, with our lives.
There was no meaning. There was money, but no meaning.
Right.
And so I decided to go back to school, and she did, but we didn't know it until I sat in that first classroom, and in she walked, just as happy as can be.
So I lived in Santa Barbara, Jason, and Dean lived in Thousand Oaks in California. So he drove to the school, and the school was in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
So we met in our very first class in graduate school.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's like a movie.
It is like a
It
movie.
was. And we became very good friends and study buddies with a couple of other friends. And we took additional courses concurrently with our graduate. We took a Gestalt 3-year training course.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just the best of friends.
And then one day I kissed her.
And I said, wait a minute.
Oh,
A kiss on you
for
too.
the way you look.
That's right. And we've been together ever since. We did our internships together. When we finished that, we got our licenses and opened our office together, and we've been in practice in the same place in Palm Desert, California for since 2000.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, what year did you got? You said you've been together for 25 years.
Yes.
So you started your practice a little late on. Was that any particular reason?
Well, we had to do an internship. You have to do a lot of hours before you can sit for the test. So we had to have a supervisor. So when we moved to Palm Desert, we joined a clinic of about 8 people. And we were the interns there.
We were interns.
So we started talking in the community and writing articles and things like that so that we could get ourselves going.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, it was just exciting because psychology has interested us our whole lives. We were always
Sounds
interested,
exciting.
even at a young age.
People are fascinating and their behavior and what they do. And we both like to help. And that was where we found the meaning in our purpose in life again, basically.
Yeah, you have to have meaning. to make life feel worthwhile.
You definitely do.
Yeah, although we had as Gay was saying, our internship going, that was for 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure, but at any rate, that was over, and we were able to open up our first office in 2000.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So I'll tell you a funny story about what happened to us.
Yes, I love funny stories. I was just going to ask you.
Okay. About a month before we were to sit for the exam, and the exam is a long exam, and then there's an oral exam too. The person who owned the clinic fired us.
Our supervisor.
And you had to have a supervisor to practice. You can't practice without a supervisor. We were buying a house at the same time and had a very, we had built up a very good practice.
How dare you?
Well, I think he thought he was going to get all of our clients, and he thought that we were going to move, and he was right about that. We wouldn't have stayed at the clinic. So we walked out of the office stunned, completely shocked.
Monday morning, he just said, pack your stuff and walk. And
Wow.
he was hoping that he'd get rid of us and keep all of our clients. So what we did was we grabbed some office space real fast, called all of our clients, and said, here's our new address. You can see us if you want, but you cannot call us psychotherapists because we don't have a license. You can call us life coaches.
And we became the first life coaches in the desert.
Wow.
And by the way, Palm Desert is right next to Palm Springs. So Palm Springs, California, just for those who aren't familiar with the area. So we became the first licensed life coaches because we just went to the city and said, we're life coaching, give us a license.
And we'd taken lots of classes and that kind of thing on life coaches. So we got a doctor's office where he came out from Beverly Hills like 3 days a week or 2 days a week, I guess it was. And so I set out to find us an office, and he was willing to rent us an office for the other days. And Dean set out to find us a supervisor, and we hired one to be our supervisor. And all our clients came with us, and then we went to consignment stores, and we furnished our first office. So we were up and running in like a month's period of time.
Within 30 days.
And we didn't have to do the 60-40 split that we had with the man that tried to take our clients.
Yeah.
You had a bigger percentage at that point.
Oh, yeah.
We had 100%. And it was
Well, you didn't have to get stake a percentage to the supervisor that you hired?
Yeah, we did have to pay him.
But he felt we didn't need him after like about 6 months.
Okay.
We got our licenses, and then we were all on our own, and it was 100% ours. And the rent was good, and the waiting room was full, so we were happy campers.
We were happy.
Yeah.
But it was shocking. And one of the things we talk about is resilience.
What's shocking is there's no movie about it.
Yes, right. Yes.
So talk about resilience. Honey.
Well, that sometimes in life we think something is really bad.
Right.
And of course we did. We thought, and we were just firming up the house deal. And so it seemed like the worst thing in the world, but we just put our heads down and worked through it. And it turned out to be the best deal in the world. So, sometimes misfortune can be crippling, but if you just look at it as, well, maybe there's an opportunity here, it can turn out really well.
That's right, honey. And it was kind of like getting kicked out of the nest, if you will. So it forced us to fly. That nest would have been a comfort zone.
Yeah, we might have stayed for a while.
It wasn't really a bad operation, but we went ahead and did it. So we took we went to a business seminar once, and the man said, you don't have to have all the lights green on the runway to take off.
Yes.
You can have 3 out of 5 green, a yellow and a red, get it in the air, and you can make adjustments in flight. Well, that's kind of life, because we're not in control the way we think we are, as we find out quite often.
Right.
And our lesson was, don't despair, just make another plan.
Yeah, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped us to have also a lot of confidence in ourselves. And
And
hey,
that's the best thing. That's
Yeah.
probably the best thing that came out of it.
right.
You gaining the confidence to keep your own practice or even start your own practice. Because if he didn't boot you out the door, you probably would have been there for a while until you did that.
That's
That's right.
true. We would have been.
Mm-hmm. So it
Yeah.
all worked out.
Once we become complacent with things, it's hard to break out of that mold.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that's what we find with so many people. And that goes from jobs to relationships to everything. We have comfort zones everywhere. And if we want to keep growing, it's so important to identify those comfort zones and see if we could push the boundaries.
Right. Now, what did you always focus on relationships, or is it just from a client to client basis?
Client to client basis, because we have some clients that, have particular issues, and we have some clients that just want personal growth, different situations. So we do individuals, couples. I do some teenagers if they want to come. I won't see teenagers that don't want to come. Dean sees families.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a gamut.
Yeah.
Full gamut.
So on the individuals thing, I mean, we see people who have gotten divorced and they don't know what to do. They have to reinvent themselves, start a new life. They're faced with lots of challenges and pushing the envelope of the comfort zones.
Right.
We see people with depression, anxiety, all that standard stuff. But as Gay said, the personal growth thing is really exciting.
Yeah, that's what we love the most.
I say what we do is not about fixing broken people. It's about helping people get what they want in life.
Do you
And
guys
so-
have any? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Sometimes people come in and they say, oh, I need therapy. And so I must be really, what's wrong with me? And I say, the crazy ones don't come in. And they don't. We really see the cream of the
Not
crop.
willingly, at least.
Yeah.
Well, they're the ones that think they're fine.
Yeah.
It's everything's wrong with everyone else around them in their lives, and they're fine. Yeah.
So we see the cream of the crop from my point of view, because they're people that go, hey, you know what? Maybe I need a little bit of an adjustment on this, or I'm not quite as happy as I want to be. And they're willing to reach out and get a different perspective.
Right, so you guys are like chiropractors for your life.
Yeah, right.
Adjust and realign it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And the interesting thing about relationships, Jason, is a lot of people will, when we're going around speaking, a lot of people say, well, our relationship is fine. We don't need any. And I go, okay, is it a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale? And they look at each other, no. Why not shoot for the 10? You don't have to wait till it's broken to come in.
Right.
And the real funny part is when I say, give me a number, and the woman gives me, the guy says 8 and the woman says 3. Well, who's having a better time in that relationship?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that means somebody else is suffering. So we try to strike a balance there.
Now, do you guys have any interesting success stories from the personal growth?
Oh, we have lovely success stories. Yes.
Any that you're able to share without breaking a HIPAA violation?
Well, let me think now. Let's just do it generally. Say somebody has had, we always look at patterns. If somebody has had a pattern of unsuccessful relationships and they learn, they can analyze themselves with help and they realize what's causing that, and we give them tools to develop a successful relationship, and then they do that, that's very satisfying, because Freud said an interesting thing. As wild and crazy as he was really brilliant. And he said, to love and to work successfully, that is a successful life.
That's balance and happiness when we're getting fulfillment from our relationship and from what we do for a living. And a success story, well, something that is successful, in my view, is that I've had over the years, 3 clients have come to me for an issue in their life that they wanted me to help them solve. And after a year or two of seeing me, they decided to become therapists. And there are 3 other practicing therapists in the Coachella Valley right now who were once my clients. So I feel honored that to be an inspiration.
Yes, and that's happened to me also.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you got people trying to take up the mantle and do what you're their inspiration. They want to do what you're doing to help other people out. That's
Very
pretty
satisfying.
I would say so myself.
It's an honor. Mm-hmm.
And then we have a great success story with us
Mm-hmm.
because we had a wonderful time in the beginning, and then the shit hit the fan, right?
In
As
our
it usually does.
Yeah, about a year or two, now you find out what everybody's really like. And
Honeymoon's over.
that's right. And we scared one therapist almost out of her office. And then we found a therapist that really knew what she was doing. And she taught us a lot. And we worked really hard. And we rolled up our sleeves. And it not only gave us a 10 relationship, which we've had for many years now, but I think it really helped us each grow personally, unbelievably.
Yeah.
To make that happen.
You have to grow personally in order to, it's about making the adjustments necessary to make what you want in life to work, whether it's with another person or any situation. It's we either innovate or die or adapt. It was Darwin who said, we adapt or we cease to exist. And so it's the ability to adapt and to let go of old paradigms and be able to say, like there's things that Gay has differences, obviously, from we're 2 different people.
Right.
But
Opposites attract.
sometimes, well, yeah, a lot of commonality has to be a foundation, though, we've found.
Yes, it does.
And a great friendship, I think, is the key.
Yes.
Because I'd rather hang out with her than anybody else. And this is 27 years after our first kiss. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So now I don't know what I was going to say.
Well, what Darwin said, which was really good, he said, it's not the most intelligent or the most creative.
It's the most adaptive.
But it was the most that adapts to change.
Oh, so this is what I wanted to say. So Gay is, in the beginning, we were living together and she's way more tidy and neat. And so this would cause arguments. And then I realized, and this is where we can do a paradigm shift. Now, wait a minute. This is a pain because she's asking me to change a way I've always been, and I don't see anything wrong with it. However, if I do what would make her happy, if I'm more that way, does it hurt me or does it make me better? And I realized that to be a little more tidy and neat isn't going to hurt me and probably make me better. And I become a more tidy and neat person. That's just a small example. Very,
Can we give
Boy, am I going to get an earful after this episode.
Oh,
yes.
What's the example of the socks?
I'll give you a funny example because I've told many of my clients this. So Dean would put his socks in one little square, right?
Of tile. I drop them on the side of my bed.
On the side of the bed. And I'd say, honey, can you please put your socks in the hamper or put your socks away? And he would say to me, we have 3,000 feet of a house.
Square feet.
Why can't I just have one little square where I can just throw down my socks?
You take the other 2,999 and leave that alone.
Well, I had to think of that. And I thought, well, that's a reasonable argument. And it really is. And I said, it is a reasonable argument, but it makes me feel not considered.
When she said that, I stopped. I'm thinking, not considered. First of all, I love her to death, so I consider I don't want her to feel that way. And so I said, okay, so how much skin off my nose is it to pick the damn socks up and throw them in the hamper? And then I relieve this wonderful lady of feeling not considered, because that's not even true. I mean, they're her feelings, so they're real to her. But she's very considered, so I guess I have to demonstrate it. And I did. And it worked. And Gay has made changes for me. We've adjusted. But I think all of them have caused us both to be better.
Yes.
Can you
Better
think of
people.
Can you think of anything you've changed for me?
Yeah. Yes.
I can't.
Remember, you're terrible. When I would say whatever,
Oh,
Dean, that would just drive Dean crazy. He says, I hate it when you say, I can't remember when you told me.
it means to me you're saying dismiss.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
He felt dismissed with that. Well, to me, whatever means,
Whatever.
whatever. But it really doesn't matter what it means to me because I care about him. I never want him to feel dismissed. So I just cleaned it out of my repertoire of words because why?
And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if you're used to a particular word or a habit or a style.
Right. Mine's is the F word, and it's hard to break.
Yes.
We say that a lot, but not to each other
Yeah.
or at each other.
Right.
I'll say this effing thing that, but so the initial argument on something like that is, well, everybody says that, nobody
Right.
else I know is bothered by that. But see, that's where couples miss the point. It's not about everybody else. Maybe I'm just weird and that for some reason disturbs me. Can you please help me? You
Yes.
say you love me. Can you please help me? That disturbs me. Just like I thought that she was weird for not leaving me 1 square foot of a
Yes.
3 and that got to be riding my ass on that, right? So, but then I realized, okay, but if that makes her happy and it's not hard to change, we do it. And she did that. And then you can just carry this on into infinity because it's your perception that's your reality. Your feelings are your reality. And if we don't cater to each other's feelings, that's where the gridlock and the butting heads comes in.
And that goes for friends too. You have to be able to be honest with your friends. When this happens, I feel like this. You don't say you're bad. I didn't say, you're bad for leaving, you're a slob for leaving your socks on the floor or any of those things. Right. I just said, I feel, because he's not. He's a very clean person and tidy in a lot of ways. It was just the socks, and I'm a little OCD.
Thank you. She's a little OCD, and she admitted.
Yeah.
So anyway, I tell couples when they're in front of me because they want to know, like who's right, who's got the facts. And I say, listen, go into a courtroom. You'll have a table here and a table here, and both of those attorneys have stacks of facts. They've got file folders full of facts, and you still need a judge to sort it out. So forget the facts and just pay attention to your partner's feelings. And if you can cater to your partner's feelings without losing respect for yourself, there's the caveat.
Right.
You're doing something good. There are some things that I think in the past, I don't even remember, she might have asked me, and I would say, honey, I can do this and that and the other thing, but this, I can't do that.
Right.
I won't feel good about me.
Certain things.
Yeah. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here with you at this table and talk until we find an acceptable replacement for that thing that I'm not going to do. And that, even though I said no, makes the other individual happy because they still see.
They feel cared about,
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
And we had to learn how to speak to each other differently. Like you saw how we did this. When you do this, I feel like this. I own my feelings. He could do the same thing to somebody else and they might not feel anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really have to own our own feelings. The good thing about that is it forces us to look at that. There was one time with Dean in the beginning that I would be talking to him and he would interrupt me with a joke about every 2 seconds. He's the baby in the family, right? So I understood. You're going to make yourself seen somehow.
Right.
But I said to him, babe, when you do that, not only do I lose track of what I'm even talking about, but I feel like you really don't care about what I'm talking about. And I knew in my head that wasn't true because he does care. But he responded, and it responded pretty quickly.
So the deal is pretty easy when you start out with a bunch of you statements and you use value judgments like that isn't right, that isn't appropriate, nobody else does that. your partner's gonna put up their defensive shields, and they're gonna argue because nobody wants to be judged. But if you say I feel this way, there's no argument against that.
Because you have your feelings.
I'm owning it. Like I said, not wanting to hear whatever might be weird, but that's how it affects me. So do what you want with it.
And criticism is one of the worst.
Oh no, it definitely is.
You know, you're always going to have somebody put up their dukes if they're criticized, because none of us like it. You know, we went through our childhoods with that.
Right. And that's where I was just gonna go with my question. My friend Cindy her nonprofit is called ACEs, and it focuses on generational curses and trying to break them. Now, do you see a lot of those struggles in relationships with breaking those generational curses?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we had our own. If we go back in our families, I see exactly why we tried to communicate and work out problems the way we did. But it was like learning a whole different language. It really was.
Mm-hmm. So there were different times. And so our fathers were, 1950s dads.
Yeah.
And you know the story, that was Father Knows Best and Donna Reed.
Right.
That had to morph. And then we can go into generational curses like, I'm from a Latin culture that's Italian, and we get a lot of I have a lot of Hispanic clients, and some of them, just as I was raised in the old neighborhood, have that male privilege idea.
Machismo.
That's right.
Yeah, and they have a hard time backing down to a woman or apologizing to a woman, and it punishes the other person. It's so destructive, and it's really not good for either party, let alone the relationship. And I have to talk about it. I'm going to tell you. Can I do a quick story, Jason?
Always.
This is so long ago. So this lady is engaged to a man, and it was a Hispanic couple. And she comes in and they sit down, and it's clear he wasn't happy to be there, but that's okay. And I said, so how can I help you guys? And she says, he's controlling. He's always telling me what to do. And I go, what do you mean? And she says, he tells me what to wear. He says, your blouses are cut down to here. Everyone can see down there. You bend down. Your pants are cut. So they see the crack in your butt. You're dressing like a puta. And I don't want to be, seen with you. And so she said, I'm a lady and I know how to dress. And the funny thing is, Dean, he liked the way I dressed when we were dating, right? And so
right.
I turned to the guy.
That's always the premise.
Is it not? Yep. So I turned to the guy and I said, why don't you just tell her that you're afraid? And he looked at me like I was crazy and he said, I'm not afraid. What am I afraid of? I said, you're afraid another man is going to lay eyes on your goodies, and he's going to desire those goodies, and he's going to make a play for it. And that works on you when she's walking around and men are looking. And it's fear. And he hung his head for a minute. He said, well, I guess that could be right. and then she looks at him and goes, well, you dummy, if you'd have just told me that, I'd have changed my clothes. But when you tell me I'm wrong and I don't know how to dress, I'm not doing it. So that is about expressing the feelings of feeling insecure, feeling afraid,
right?
Feeling
and
threatened.
For men, those are some of the hardest emotions to deal with.
Absolutely. But that is where you get your best results. I always tell people, you tell someone, that they have created a vulnerable feeling in you, and that will drop them to their knees. They'll be all over it trying to fix it. But if you start doing you're this, you shouldn't do that, and you act like a judge, they're going to fight back.
They're going to put up their dukes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you tell somebody what is I guess I can say, what are the steps to try to start on the track to breaking those walls down and getting away from some of those fears?
You mean with a couple, as a couple? Well, the first thing is to identify them, And then a lot of times to see where they come from. Like if you look at a woman, Dean talks about the machismo, but a lot of women are afraid to have a voice. They're afraid to stand up for themselves. They don't, it depends. Some women do and some women don't. But those women come from families where that was the story. The women weren't counted. Say somebody's from Iran,
right?
Where women were really put down. I mean, women were dogs, right? And so they have to learn that they can be as powerful as they want to be, and they have that in them, and they don't have to accept that version of themselves, that part of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to identify and see that culturally that was perpetuated.
It's a very hard process, I guess. There's really no easy way to it. You just got to kind of deal with those feelings head on.
Hard, but exciting. Because when you start letting go, I mean, it was rough in our early period, but now it's fabulous. And why wouldn't we all want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't we all want to have a fabulous relationship or a fabulous job or take good care of our bodies? I mean, why don't we want to be a 10?
Right. Because then it gives you clarity in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another big obstacle that comes up is bringing up the past. People will get in an argument today
Yes.
about one thing and then start bringing up past events or unrelated events, throwing in the kitchen sink. And that's a big no-no. You have to stick to the topic at hand.
Right.
And work it through to resolution. And people don't do it. And it's not about winning. And we have to understand that if you win, your partner loses. And if your partner loses enough, they're going to resent you. And they might not be there when you come home one day. And that has happened.
Yes, there's an old saying that's really a good one. People would rather be right than happy.
Ooh, so that's a good way to put it. D. Chappelle Show on YouTube said it's a puzzle that you just got to work at. You just got to work at it one piece at a time.
Yes, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Now, how did you ever find the time to write a book each?
Well, we always wanted, both of us, even before we met each other, we always wanted to write a book. And I wanted to write something because I wanted people to know, to become self-actualized. Self-actualization is actually a term that was coined by Maslow. He was in the last century. And he came along and studied healthy people. And what he did is he put together qualities and characteristics that they had. And he said they were 1% of the population. And I became very fascinated with that. And I thought, if we know their qualities and characteristics, we can develop those. If we have a weak muscle and we know we've got a weak muscle, we can go to the gym and get a trainer, right? And develop those. So I wanted to write something that told people that the world is their oyster, so to speak. They can develop the qualities and characteristics that make them the 1%, not because they want to be the 1%. It's not about ego, but they have the 1% are happy.
You reap the benefits.
They have jobs that they love. They make the kind of money they want to make. They have relationships that they love. And the money doesn't have to be a lot. They could be making $1 million a year as a CEO, or they could be making $50,000 a year as a seamstress. But as long as it matches what they want, they're happy. And so I wanted to bring something to the table that would show people that's not just available for the elite few. That's available for all of us. If Dean and I can do it, anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let me just bring that right back up on screen so everybody can get a glimpse of the beautiful cover there. Now, this website is Barnes and Noble, so be sure to go pick that up.
And on Amazon.com.
And Amazon.com too.
Let's not forget about Amazon, because you can get that the very next day.
Mhm.
And then one of the things about a couple that it can be really difficult is not having good boundaries. And so Dean's book, I mean, is a fabulous book on boundaries and how important they are, not just with our partner, but with our kids.
With our coworkers and even with our bosses. We have to have boundaries. It's a normal human tendency for most people to want things their way, and that's fine. But we'll end up getting run over if we don't stand up and say, excuse me, that doesn't work for me. Not you're doing crazy shit, because there's the value judgment.
Yeah.
It's that doesn't work for me. So like we have people who I've got a couple that are married, and the husband's parents will just drop by anytime. It's okay with him, but it's not with her. She's a career woman, and they have kids, and it's like when they do have some downtime, they don't want to knock on the door, call and make it, and that's something that we had. We actually had to do that too. I had a bit of an intrusive family. Had to set up boundaries with them.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. You just have to let that float that out there and say, look, it's just a courtesy, please.
Right, and it's okay. It's normal.
Mm-hmm.
People are afraid of it because they don't want to seem mean or impolite or rude.
Looked at a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But see, in this case, and this has happened with lots of people, where people drop by, then even though they love the people, they resent them. They may not say anything, but they resent them. And so it almost tarnishes the relationship from that standpoint.
Right.
And someone gets fed up with it, Jason. I got another quick one here. Is this couple who they had a motorhome and they'd love to take vacations up the coast. And of course, when the guy was talking to his parents, and they'd say, well, what are you doing next weekend? And, oh, well, we're going to drive up to Big Sur and stay in the campground. Well, lo and behold, the parents had a motorhome too. And they'd pull up and go, surprise.
We're going with you.
Well, they were there. They'd just show up. They'd either be there. They had their own motor. They'd either be there when they got there and say, or show up, within a half a day later. So the wife, she was going ballistic. And I said, you have to tell your parents, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Hey, it's about being respected as an adult.
Sounds like a Ben Stiller movie all over again.
Yeah.
Like a what, Jason?
Like a Ben Stiller movie all over again.
Yes, right. Yes.
Now, you got two websites. Is that because you have one each?
Well, which ones are you looking at?
Yeah, which ones are you looking at?
The Mighty Mind?
Yes, I have the Mighty Mind, and I believe Happy, Successful, and Free.
That's the tagline of my book, Jason, because I feel like if people really develop those muscles, they will be happy, successful, and free. So that's mine. And then Dean should have.
So the Mighty Mind is ours for our practice.
Mm-hmm.
Happy, Successful, and Free is really going to be Gay's for her book, and it needs to be fleshed out a little more. We just published these books in end of October.
Okay,
and
so
then
they're fairly new.
Yes, and mine will be tacticalboundaries.com. It is there, but there's not much to it yet.
Okay.
We're building out. We're learning. We're
learning.
Trust me, I'm still learning too. My website hasn't been updated for a couple of weeks now, and it's frustrating me because I barely have the time to do it. So trust me, you guys are way busier than I am. I understand.
Well, I don't know. You sound pretty busy, Jason.
I am.
You see, we only have 2 cats. We don't have 5.
Yeah.
Well, I'm allergic to cats. The cats were out of the options. We couldn't have them. We could barely have the dog that we got.
Well, you've got a lot of kids, and that keeps you very busy.
Yes, it does. It keeps us on our toes, and they have such different personalities. So you never know what you're gonna get.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Same parents and just completely different personalities, but that makes it fun too.
It does. It does. Sometimes it's fun. Other times makes me want to pull this hair out.
Yeah, well, that's pretty honest. Yeah.
Well, hey, everybody is human, and we all got our own fuse. Once it's
Yeah.
lit, there's no telling how fast it'll spark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming on. Have you guys ever done a lot? I mean, you've been on TV shows, talk shows,
Yes.
the news. Have you ever done a live podcast where you can have people kind of call in and ask questions?
we haven't.
No,
Well,
we would love that.
I would love to have you on my Saturday night show one day. We'd have to set it up.
Okay.
We love that. Thank
That's
you,
very
Jason.
exciting for we thrive in that type of an environment. As a matter of fact, people have made many comments on that through the years. When we have people firing questions, we did have a little radio show for about 6 months,
Yeah.
a local radio show, and people called in with questions. It was like Dr. Laura kind of call in
it
with
was
your
fun.
problem, and they'd get a male and female perspective. So we'll do that. That would be a pleasure.
We're definitely going to stretch it out a little bit for a couple of weeks so we can get the right type of promotion out there so we can get these couples to call in.
Super.
That would be
I'm gonna start on the graphic tomorrow.
okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a lot of fun for us. And
We love to have wonderful people like you on our Saturday night show, but we do get a little raunchy. We bring the liquor out, and it
We
gets
can handle it. We
That's
can
right.
handle it.
sounds good.
And can we, if you see us passing a joint, is that okay?
Yeah, 100%. It's legal where you are.
Yes, it is. It's not in Florida?
No, not yet. Not yet.
All right.
Not yet. They need to get on with it.
Have you always lived in Florida?
No. I'm originally from New York. I'm a Bronx boy.
Oh,
Really? Well, you've
Right.
got a good governor there.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes, because right now he got a lot of people mad. Leave it up to him. I can't. Kids can't mention your first name in schools anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't necessarily agree with some of the things he says or does, but what can I do? I'm just me.
kids can't mention your first name. They can't call
Not
each
my
other.
first name. No, they can't. They can't. There's a law now. The law, I believe, is called "Don't Say Gay," and it's really taking a toll on kids. It's only
Wow,
gonna
I
get
could
worse.
never introduce myself.
She's got to stay
Right?
out of Florida now. See?
See the palm trees? So we all enjoy the beautiful weather in both these places.
That's right.
Oh yeah. And I was joking with my wife earlier because, as I mentioned, I somehow didn't see that on your description when I made the graphic, and I kind of left out your first name. And when I was describing it to my wife, I said, you know what? I'll just tell her I'm from Florida and I can't say gay. So
Yeah.
I left it out.
See, that's adapting. Like we
It
were
is.
talking.
Yeah,
It is.
there you
I'm
go.
trying. I'm like a chameleon. I kind of blend into my surroundings.
Good deal.
But don't leave just yet. Let me tell the Junkers, thank you for tuning in. We love having you, and for the people that are going to be listening to this on Spotify and all the other podcast hosting sites, please be sure to not only visit the Mighty Mind. Now, do you guys do remote?
Yes.
We
Remote?
do.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. See,
Someone
so
has to- Mhm.
go ahead.
Send us an email, and
Yeah.
it's on the Mighty Minds website, and we will set up a video session.
Yes.
See, that's perfect. Go to the
Mhm.
Mighty Mind and be sure to book those appointments. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star rating. Those 5-star ratings help a lot, and it helps us be able to find more wonderful guests like this. So, yeah, make sure you go to the Mighty Mind, get your appointments made, and stay tuned because we have more coming. And thank you guys again for coming on. Don't go nowhere.